Hi, I'm Les Moreland. I'm the current commander, AMVETS Post 2006 here in Leesburg, Florida. And we're a proud sponsor of Central Florida Salute on the YouTube channel. I'd like to have you check us out on our Facebook page or whatever. Our address is 500 North Canal Street in Leesburg, Florida. To all you veterans out there, come by and see us. We salute you for your service and thank you very much.
Central Florida Salute. I'm your host, Bob Peters, and I'm here at the beautiful Eagles Area 4273 in Oklahoma, Florida. I have two gentlemen here with the Veterans Committee that's putting in the monuments up in Bushnell. Doug Mobley, who is United States Air Force. Right. And if I see this right, you went in 73 and got out in 79, right?
Correct.
And tell us a little bit about your Air Force. Where are you from originally, Doug?
Grew up in Kettering, Ohio. Joined the Air Force right out of high school. Went to Keesler, got trained on communications, then went back and cross-trained into computers. And
when you say communications, is that radio, is that TV, or what is that?
I worked in a facility that different types of communications came into. Tropo, microwave, satellite, landline, all came in on one side, and on the other side were my users that were crypto and phone and that kind of stuff. So if there was a problem with communications, they'd notify us. We'd check out the line, we'd patch them over to a different channel if we needed to. So it was a communications troubleshooter is what it was. Okay,
and you are also a member of the American Legion Riders chapter.
Correct.
And you, along with the Patriot Guard Riders.
Correct.
And that, I'll tell you, Patriot Guard Riders, you guys are great. I've done a lot of events over the years, and they're always there, standing up. And
that's what really got me involved at Florida National Cemetery is the interment services that I supported as a Patriot Guard Rider.
Well, I appreciate that. And Bob Mills. Bob, you also are in the service. And let me make sure I get this one right.
Army. I'm a United States Marine Corps.
Marine, that's right. United States Marine Corps. Oh, boy, I got to be careful because I got a lot of Marine friends. I got to make sure I get that right. So what years were you in?
70 through 76. I was attached to the Air Wing. I was fortunate enough not to go to Vietnam, so I made Glenview, Illinois very safe for everybody there. And I was in communications, a little different than what Doug did. I started working with radios, communicating back and forth. Mm-hmm. Then I kind of morphed into public affairs, which is my background from an educational standpoint. And once a Marine, always a Marine.
I know. Believe me, I know. I got a good friend of mine was a 2-star general, Marine Corps. He just retired not too long ago. But anyway, you live in the villages.
Yes, I
do. But
you
don't, right? I
live in Brooksville.
Bushnell. How did you all get together and get involved with this? And what we're going to talk about, the monuments in Bushnell.
I guess I played golf with a friend, and the normal conversation down here is, what did you do? Were you ever in the service? Oh, I was in the service. I was in Vietnam. I was in the Army. I was in the Marine Corps. And we go on and on and on and start talking, and we found out our backgrounds, and it was Doug Gardner, who was one of the original people, along with Tony Davis and Tony Camus, who is the chairman of the Joint Veterans Support Committee. And he said, we're introducing a new program, a $10 million program to put monuments at the entrance to the National Cemetery. And he explained it to me, and I said, I'd love to get involved with that organization. Being a veteran and the background that I have with my family, where everybody's been in the service. So a few weeks pass by, I get the phone call from him. He says, will you take a look at this press release and give me your thoughts on it? Well, that's like asking you to help somebody out for a script. You can't keep your hands off it a little bit. So I made some changes and we used it. And it went viral, as the kids call it today. And the big issue was the $10 million, because it was one of the largest, or is one of the largest endeavors, charitable endeavors that are being done around here. Now, this is a marathon, not a sprint. And I said, hey, I'm in on the committee, and that's how I got there. And one thing led to the other. And Doug, tell your story how you got there.
So for me, it was from the Patriot Guard Riders. I happened to be out at the cemetery at the staging area where the PGR meets before going to a shelter for an interment service. And Brian Parker, who happened to be the Sergeant at Arms for the JVSC at the time, announced that he was going to have to step down. He had some personal reasons he wasn't going to be on there anymore, and wanted to know if somebody else was interested in joining and taking his spot on the JVSC. And there weren't any other PGR members on the JVSC. So after some discussions, I raised my hand and said, well, I think it's important that another ride captain step up and be on the JVSC board, or at least the membership. And so I went to that meeting, actually that evening. I think there was a meeting, and I went with Brian, and he introduced me, and voila.
So for people who are just watching this, JVSC is Joint Veterans Service Committee, remember? Support Committee. Okay, we want to get that out there.
We're a 501c3.
Now here's my question for you. Now this is a national cemetery, $10 million deal. Mm-hmm. Do you get money from the federal government or no? See, a lot of places, everybody seems to think that they do that, but no. So you guys have to raise the money.
Right.
How you doing? How you doing with that?
Well, we kind of got kicked in the seat of the pants with COVID, but we've raised over $200,000, and we've got about 3 monuments that are pretty close to being fulfilled, and pledges that are growing, and I think that I'm pretty happy with what we've done. The reason I can speak to that is I now evolved into the treasurer's role, and money's coming in pretty much on a daily basis. The Patriot Riders raise a lot of money for us, and most of this money is done through small donations, 25, 50, 100. And unlike some of the other cemeteries who have done a similar kind of project, not with the enormity that we're doing, mm-hmm. They found an angel, someone who writes a check for $1 million, $2 million. I mean, we could use your check for $1 million.
It would bounce from here to California. Well, I'm sure you're reaching out to the Legions, VFW, AMVETS, and all those organizations, which is great. Well, at the end of the show, I want you to give out information as to where somebody donates, how to donate.
I'd be happy to.
But let's talk about what are you exactly doing. I was up there the other day, and you have one monument there, Gold Star Family Monument.
Right.
It's absolutely beautiful, by the way. You did a nice job with that. So I'm going to ask one of you guys to talk about one of the monuments, because I was up there talking to a lady named Barbara Snow, who's with the U.S. War Dogs Association. And she is, I met her a long time ago. She had a good friend who had a dog named Honey, who took care of a military veteran. And I met Honey and that vet, 8-10 years ago, when we did a fundraiser down at Lake Square Mall, my AMVETS post. And so she's very dedicated into the dogs. You want to talk a little bit about that monument, then we'll go into the other monuments?
I think Doug would be best suited to speak to that.
So the military service dog monument?
Yes, sir.
So it's not actually about the dog, it's about the units that have dogs. So the monument are some of the different depictions that we're reviewing for submission to the NCA for approval.
It's National Cemetery Association.
Involves a military person with a dog at their side, whether it's a service dog, a bomb sniffing dog, drug dog, whatever it might be. It's, there's many different categories of military.
Well, these, yeah, you're right. A lot of them take care of the veteran when they come home and this and that,
Absolutely.
So it's really about honoring, whether you want to admit it or not, the dog, and because the dog is part of that unit. Which I'll tell you what, I've seen dogs in action, and I've seen some of these dogs have gotten shot, whatever, and with how the soldiers are so attached to them. It's your buddy. It's your
Absolutely.
It's your partner, And I think it's going to be a great monument. I don't think there's any of them in any other cemetery, national cemetery, anything like that. Is there?
I'm not aware.
I believe there are, but not in the national cemeteries, but there are in other smaller cemeteries throughout the United States.
Yeah.
Some are standalone with the dogs, but again, they don't have the same restrictions that we have to go through, being that it's a
National
national cemetery. By the way, one quick thing on when you talked about us raising the $10 million. The national cemeteries, as I've been told, are not allowed to solicit money. If someone donates money to them, they can use it, but they're not allowed to solicit money, just like we're not allowed to solicit money on the federal grounds,
Yeah.
which is a distinction.
We're not soliciting money. We're just asking for donations on here on Central Florida
Well,
Salute
that's,
YouTube.
That's absolutely perfect.
Because we need to honor all these men and women and our service dogs who are big part. I've done several shows with service dogs. I've also done shows with the pigeons in World War II, which is very interesting. All animals, dogs, horses, there's a lot of history about these great animals that have done so much. But anyway, you're working on coming up with a monument for that, and I know Barbara is going to be honored and really happy because she has worked so hard in the veterans community. But what are the other monuments? Vietnam, for instance. Tell me about what you're doing there. I understand you're doing something with the Vietnam.
We will have hopefully a number of Vietnam memorials. They will be, Doug, how large are they going to be?
So we're currently looking at using a 4 by 6 foot granite panel, and each one of the subcommittees, like there is a subcommittee for the Vietnam War memorial, and they'll just decide, depending on how much money they've raised, obviously is one constraint, and secondarily, how many depictions they would like to have, such as, a helicopter. I don't think you can have a Vietnam memorial without showing helicopters.
Big part of it, yeah.
Yeah, so it could be 2 or 3 different panels.
And you were Air Force. We got to get a couple planes in there,
We carried the Marines.
Yeah, we dropped them off.
Exactly. And they couldn't have done it without us.
Yeah, that's right.
But so currently there are 3 underway. One of them is the Vietnam Memorial, one of them is the War Dogs, and another one is the Revolutionary War, are 3 that are underway. Plus, so those are subcommittees under the Monument Committee, and the Monument Committee is also working on a centerpiece monument, which will be a large monument right in the center of Freedom Memorial Plaza.
Is that plaza going to be near the Gold Star family one? Because that's where I went. I went out there, and that's the only one I saw. Obviously, it's the only one that's there.
So when you drive into Florida National Cemetery and you come up to that stop sign,
Yep.
and that Gold Star Families Memorial Monument's right there,
Right.
that whole grassy area right there is Freedom Memorial Plaza. So all those monuments, when you come up to that stop sign, you'll be able to see the whole array of monuments once completed.
So what we're going to show here on the show is some of the concepts, not necessarily exactly going to be like this, because we have the committee still working on it, right? So
Right.
we're doing.
And plus, they have to be submitted to the NCAA, and they have to do a final approval on that. They may decide they want this changed or that changed.
Yeah.
But, so, yeah, we don't know what the final is going to be, but the concept is a good way of putting that.
Okay, so how many monuments you kind of contemplating trying to put in? Or?
15 to 20 monuments.
Wow.
Well, it's going to be super impressive when it's all done. As I said, one of the things that, in discussion with you earlier, one of the things that we're concerned about is that the young people today aren't really aware of wars back from the Seminole Wars here in Florida to the Revolutionary War, and then the conflicts in between. Those are the ones that people have missed, the young children. Believe it or not, World War I, World War II, Korea, they're not aware of, maybe because there's so few movies made of them anymore. But we'll try and incorporate QR codes, which all these young folks have on their phones. They can take a picture of it, and they can learn as they go through. And hopefully, we'll envision busloads of grade school kids coming through with their teachers and letting these kids walk through orderly and see what their great-grandparents and their grandparents and their brothers and sisters went through to keep America safe. And that's imperative, and I think that's pretty much the common thread that runs through the people on the JVSC committee, is that there are 190,000 people interred there. That's a lot of veterans.
Mm.
And they deserve to be honored. They deserve to be well known. They deserve to be thanked. And what better way? Now we go because we know people. We sit down, we look at someone. If you go to the cemetery, Pride Memorial Day, where we put over 110,000 flags on every tombstone. You're down there, Flags Across America donates the flags, and the small flags are about this high. You sit down and you say, Bob Mills, Vietnam, thank you for your service. You snap a salute off, move on to the next person, and you repeat that every time. Well, I defy anybody that's done this to say they didn't at least cry once. I'm starting to build up right now thinking about it, because you see these people. I ran across someone at the cemetery, was in World War II, Korea, and Vietnam. Now, I don't know what he did in Vietnam or how young he was in World War II.
I met a few of them, believe it or not. We've recorded, my partner and I, well, I used to be with Lakefront TV before I became with Central Florida Salute YouTube. We're not-for-profit. But we've interviewed, you wouldn't believe the people I've interviewed, you know, from the 1936 Olympics. Who were at the Bridge of the River Kwai. And I understand what you're saying, and that's why I'm glad you're here, because that's what we do, my partner and I do. We want to preserve and educate, especially, I did a show about Vietnam. I was talking to you earlier with Charles, Santa Claus. Charles Richardson, may he rest in peace, with me, along with 4 other Vietnam veterans, and we talked about the traveling wall that came into Eustis, and trying to educate the kids. And then after it was over, we asked a couple of kids about World War II. You mean, oh, WWII? Well, it was fought in Germany. Yeah. Well, World War. And then this one young man said, well, Hitler was in power. And he rose to power after World War I. He was in World War I, by the way. He says he rose to power, and he says he was in charge of Germany. And I don't think he was a bad guy. Wow. And my eyeballs went to the top of my head, and I said, I did a show with a guy named Gene Klein, a Holocaust survivor. Maybe you'd like to talk with Mr. Klein about him being a bad guy. You know, we need to educate our people. We need the young people to realize, you know, as they say, right? Freedom is not free.
Right.
You know, and where you guys are up there in the cemetery, it's all filled with people who fought for that. You
We
know,
might not be there if it weren't for many of them.
that's right, and that's why when I heard about you guys through a friend, she told me about Barbara, and then Barbara told me about your Joint Veterans Committee, and I said, yeah, I want to get you on the Central Florida Salute because what you're doing is great. You know, I know you got a long uphill battle though. You know, all those monuments, it's going to take a while. With that being said, because we're not soliciting, but what if anybody wanted to donate? Who would they donate to?
Well, first of all, you go to our website, which is JV as in Victor, SC.US. And there's a spot there where you can donate with a credit card. Or, at the risk of being deluged, you can.
I didn't know Marine Snoop words that big. Did you?
That's a big one.
Yeah.
It is just 2 syllables. So.
That's true. And you could send them to JVSC, care of Bob Mills, Mills, that's me, 478 Anchorage Road in the Villages, 32163. They're tax-deductible gifts, and we would love to have your money because the fastest we can put these together is absolutely wonderful. People are excited. We probably will not see it completed at our term unless we could find an angel, like some other cemeteries have found them on occasion. Some would come up $1 million or $2 million, and that would go a long way.
Well, there's some rich people out there that could help us out, right?
Absolutely. Maybe some more generals with a lot of money.
I don't think the generals got money. I think actors, athletes, something like that.
Absolutely. And we would just, you know, I don't know how to put it at this point, but I guess what I'm saying is right now, it's like the politicians, local politicians get a bunch of little money and that turns into big money and allows them to be elected. And the same thing is the direction in which we're going. However, it would accelerate that tremendously with some large donations that go along with, as an example, our first benefactor, if you will, was the Disabled American Veterans. They came up with a $20,000 donation to us as seed money that allowed us to come up with conceptual ideas, which are very expensive to have things done and cast and presentations made that we went to the National Cemetery Association to be approved. And before that, the Veterans Administration, things of this. So they were wonderful. The couple of different American Legions in the Villages, I think it's 346. 347, and they've been very generous to us, and they continue to provide us with money.
That's the largest Legion post in the world.
Yes. I mean, it's amazing. It's amazing. And they help so many people out. So we continue to cultivate that relationship. We've had the Daughters of the American Revolution.
They're a wonderful group.
Oh, and their monument is probably not too far from being finished.
So they're going to have one there too?
They're going to have one too.
I didn't know about that one.
Yeah.
So what would be the next? Right now, there's the one for the Gold Star families, which is beautiful. What would be the next one that's going to be erected? Is there a pecking order?
Well, it's not necessarily a pecking order because the funding comes in two different areas. One, money comes into a general fund for people for us to do all these ancillary monuments in the group. But there are special groups like the DAR. They have raised their own money.
Oh, so similar to like if you're going to put something for the Vietnam veterans, well, if I wanted to make a donation, I wanted to go to the Vietnam Veterans Monument,
You could do that.
Yes.
earmark it.
Right,
Yes.
you could earmark it for that, and all that money would go towards that particular monument. Now, obviously, our number one monument that we would want to get finished first is the centerpiece that ties in beautifully with the Gold Star families. But some of these organizations, they're like Barbara's with the War Dog project. All the money that she's raised goes to that, and that's why we've separated into subcommittees so that they don't get lost in the shuffle.
Yeah.
And these people will handle it. Now, if Doug would donate $100,000, we'd do a bronze encasement of him on a motorcycle and probably put it there and have a nice element.
Got 100 grand, baby?
Got a motorcycle.
Got a motorcycle. Someone has 100 grand though?
Probably have to sell the motorcycle to come up with the money, then he wouldn't have a motorcycle.
I don't think he'd pick out 100 grand for a motorcycle either. But yeah, so that's interesting. How many people are in these committees and subcommittees of total?
Oh, boy, that's hard. Doug, can you?
Roughly?
So right now, the subcommittees for Revolutionary War, War Dogs, and Vietnam, there's actually two people that co-chair that committee, and who they're working with is behind the scenes to us. They're the people that report back to the Monument Committee.
Okay.
So we don't really know who all they're working with, but they are responsible for keeping it moving along, reaching goals.
Makes sense.
I believe by the end of July, they're supposed to have a draft of their submission of the monument ready for the submission to the NCA. So there's not really a pecking order. It's just kind of who raised their hand first. I want to work on this. I want to work on this. And these were the three that popped up. And whoever gets their submission to the NCA approved first and gets their funding in place, that'll be the next one.
So what we're going to see on Central Florida Salute YouTube is some conceptions of what the monuments will look like. Not necessarily the finished product, but you're going to get a rough idea by watching this show what it's going to look like, right?
Yes.
I'm
Exactly.
correct there?
That's correct.
Because it may change a little bit because it's a lot of down the road, you know. Well, I think maybe one more time, if somebody wanted donations, to send a donation
To jvsc.us and click on donations. And it's not www, it's jvsc.us. You go into the main part of the website and you can donate. There's a very easy with PayPal, credit cards, checks, and that's just a very easy way to do it. And we hope that we just appreciate you giving us a forum to help us and to show how important all our efforts are and everybody that we work with.
Yeah, well, if you look at back of my business card, it says honor, educate, remember, sacrifice. That's what we do. We're not for profit. And we're happy to be able to maybe see you guys complete your mission. Yeah, we're going to keep this posted, what's going on.
We will do that.
And if people keep checking out your Facebook and Facebook page, you'll keep them abreast of what the monument and
Yes.
when the monument's going to come in.
You know what would be the greatest thing in the world? If all of us could stand up 5 years from now, walk around, see all the monuments, stand up and salute and say mission accomplished. That would be a great thing.
Well, gentlemen, I want to thank you for coming on Central Florida Salute. I want to wish you the best of luck with these monuments and everything at the cemetery. But it's time to say goodbye. And Bob, I know you served in the Marine Corps, and you don't salute unless you have a cover.
Correct.
But you can salute like that. You know that, right?
Yes, sir.
But we were Air Force, and we can do what we want. And we're going to salute the regular way, right, Doug?
We are.
All right. To all our veterans out there, active military and their families, we salute you for all you do. Till next time.